Hello, everybody, and welcome to another conversation in our series on why Black Lives Matter. Today, the team has found the need to go deeper into the topic of honoring our connectedness as part of our awareness around healing the illusion of racial separation. So one of the things that I'd like to just open up to the team is just a high-level conversation and a high-level question around what connectedness actually means to each of us. And then we can take it from there in terms of relating it back to healing the nuances around why Black Lives Matter. So I'm going to open that up to the team, and it's just literally the question is, what does connectedness mean to you in the context of our conversation?
I think like connectedness, when I think of that word, I think of how global we are as a human race. And then as we've gotten deeper and deeper into that discussion, it's also realizing how one we are at the core and how our oneness truly affects us. And yeah, I think it's about slowly realizing the extent of that oneness for me. And yeah, I'm gonna popcorn Drake because it's just to my right on my screen.
Connect that. To me, it means just like oneness. That's what like pops up into my mind when I think of it. It's just like oneness, understanding each other, relating, just seeing each other as, you know, like equal and the same. You know, seeing myself and my brother or my sister, right? Relating in that way instead of in a way of just like separation. But yeah, oneness. That's what I feel when I hear the word like connectiveness or connecting. So I think I'm gonna popcorn too. That just seems to be the theme. Anastasia.
I would have to agree with everything so far. I think my thing is stuck, but anyway, I like what Drake said about like seeing yourself as one with the other person whenever you connect. And I was also going to say that connecting with God and connecting with others, like from that space of connecting with God and letting God lead you in every moment. That's what I think of connection as, because that's like real connection when you're really, just connecting with God and listening to the God in everyone. Yeah. So I would like to popcorn Diana.
Yeah, definitely. I echo what everyone shared. The question kind of made me think about how, like, even in our upsets, we're all connected. Like if there's ever an upset in consciousness, like it's in consciousness, right? So we all kind of have a piece in that. And it kind of made me think of the article that Jeff shared in Discord, where he shared about how, and I didn't get a chance to read the article in depth, but he shared about how, I think it was like white males are starting to feel like not as motivated, I think was the gist of it a little bit. Like in terms of college and things like that. Or I think the point of it was kind of like, as we hammer in on one side of the scale, it brings down the other side of the scale. And so when we talk about connectedness, it made me think of how, like, as people of color experience upsets, I feel like non-people of color are experiencing the upsets just in different ways. So I don't know, I could be way off base there, but just when I think of connectedness, like we all share in whatever we're kind of moving through. And so as we heal as one, right? So that's just kind of what came up for me. And popcorn. Okay, I will popcorn to Catherine.
Yeah, I agree with everybody as well. For me, I guess it is the healing as well. It's showing that there are changes going on. We see them for ourselves, that the healing within this group has definitely made a difference, and we're all healing as one. And yeah, that definitely sees the connectedness for me, because we are making changes and it's actually happening. I think it's really beautiful. Yeah, that's my piece. Popcorn Adechi.
Hey, okay. I like everything that has been said so far, but I would have to say that I feel more with Drake's answer of being connected as one. That's the one that really called out to me the most. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So like I feel like we have a common understanding or feeling related to our sense of connectedness in those components. Like there's a serious golden thread through it all, which is really why I asked the question, because I feel like sometimes we may operate from the assumption that we're all on the same page. And that same page might be different pages, but common threads on all of those pages, which kind of speaks to the unity in our diversity, which is the thing that I feel is at the core of honoring our connectedness, because we don't all have to be the same. But at the core of it, we are looking for a very similar thing. And for me, that similar thing is to feel connected to our brothers and sisters. It's to feel connected to our source. It's to feel connected to life in and of itself. And so one of the things that stood out for me in what Jeff has been sharing with us in the Social Impact channel has been the sense of, the sense of struggle isn't necessarily isolated. So we can't identify with one component of struggle and leave or accept that our brothers and sisters are struggling in other areas. It's kind of that the common thread is that it's a common experience. It's the consciousness of life that we carry within us, that there is this thread of connection. And that thread of connection doesn't have to look like the same experiences, doesn't even have to look like similar experiences. And it doesn't have to look like discounting and discounting some people's experiences and then relating inside of the complaint. That's not what we're asking here. What my sense was, as unionists, the core of what we are working towards is healing that sense of separation from each other and from ourselves, in a sense. And that is kind of how the topic just resonated with me, in that we're healing the illusion of racial separation. But what underlies the sense of separation? It's that feeling of being disconnected, not unified, not one. And so everybody has shared a piece that has just kind of brought us back to the core of the focus, that we are connected, that we are unified, that we are one. And in our oneness, our experiences don't have to be the same. But in our oneness, there's a core thread of healing that we can all undertake. We all have a piece of that healing. We all don't have to have the exact same experience, but we can heal individually to contribute to collective healing and to contribute to really embedding what we as unionists stand for. And so that's kind of the next thing that I want to ask the team, like, do we feel as unionists that we are actually healing our togetherness? And is our togetherness maybe still fueled by more diversity than unity? And I know it's a loaded question and there's no wrong answers, and please don't feel like the piece that you share is not an appropriate piece. Don't judge your piece. Bring your piece, because your piece is going to fuel somebody else's piece. So as unionists, are we living the way of union with life and with each other and with ourselves? Very loaded question, very sensitive question. Please feel free to feel into it, and let's share our perspective there, because I feel like that's the work we're doing here.
I feel like the answer is yeah, because as a unionist, our goal is to bring heaven to earth, and in order to have heaven on earth, every single last person has to be brought into heaven and has to heal that. So yeah, I'd say as a unionist, that's exactly what we're doing. It was, Shaleia said something too. She said, if one person is oppressed, then all of us are oppressed. It's like the same kind of idea. Like, we literally all have to heal this together. So that is my perspective on that. Or I guess opinion.
And I think that's the sense that I have, is like we all have a piece, right? And sometimes we feel like potentially our piece may antagonize somebody, or our piece may get somebody's backup. That is why I'm asking the question, what is our piece here? Like, each one of us have a piece, otherwise we wouldn't be here. So I'd like us to just be more free in this conversation. And so even in being more free in this conversation, I also think that, as you said, Anastasia, is that energy of walking each other home. It's what the core of unionism has been for me, is that feeling of walking each other home. And so are we walking each other home in undertaking this healing?
I do feel we've been walking each other home. Otherwise, that conversation wouldn't have been here for like a year and a half. But I also definitely feel that there's this shift happening where we ground even more into that vision as unionists. And you know, last week we kind of ended on a loaded question as well of like, what if the system has failed us, and has it truly failed us, for example? And I think it was demonstrated well when I got like stopped by police this week. And my reasoning behind the healing was that I would heal so that I didn't experience this anymore. But I will also heal to show the example to other people of the same skin color so that they wouldn't experience this anymore. And then as a collective, we would have our healing, and it would force the system to change, kind of. It wasn't that, the beginning of the reasoning was like right, but like the end of the reasoning was showing that we didn't quite understand yet what it is that we were doing. And what it is that we're doing is that we're creating a whole new system that complements well with the other systems. And so in wanting to change, to attach so much to changing a system, we would like separate ourselves from the true healing, I feel. At least, yeah, that's what I was brought up in me when Jeff and Shaleia pointed to it. And so I'd say, yes, we have been walking ourselves home in parts, and then there's this shift happening where we're going even deeper into that process, and that feels beautiful.
Yeah, so my feeling is definitely as well that we have been walking each other home. I also have the sense that we could probably do a much better job of it. And it's not about judging what we've done. It's about what's our next step. Where are we going? And that's kind of what I'd like us to feel into. Like, yes, we've done over a year, almost over a year and a half of healing. Because actually, yes, it's about a year and a half of healing now. And so in walking each other home and undertaking that journey and undertaking the healing, like I like everybody to just kind of feel into the next step and to feel how we approach it. And like it's not something that we have to define now, but it is something that we have to think on and think about, because my sense is that there's more healing to be done in this space. Otherwise, our conversation would have progressively wound down, but it hasn't. So there's definitely still a call for healing in this space. And so in that call for healing in this space, are there potentially things that we have overlooked in how connected we really are to each other? Because we're connected to the desire in consciousness for this healing. Otherwise, the healing wouldn't have been initiated and it wouldn't still be continuing. My question is there a sense of exhaustion, or is there a sense of a desire to go deeper here? And it's they're very profound questions, and I'm also answering them myself, and I'm sharing them with everybody, because I think it's going to give us a lot of groundedness into our next steps here. And in that groundedness, we build an even deeper foundation. And the fact of it is, we all know that we're not necessarily immediate. We don't always necessarily see the fruits of our labor. We don't immediately see it, because those roots do need to take hold. And those roots, because of the depth of this conversation, probably require deeper roots than other conversations may have needed, because of the fact that, as we have been discovering, it's just years, it's in fact centuries upon centuries of the opposite track. And so in coming back to our center and coming back to our healing and coming back to our grounding, it does feel like it's probably a much more lengthy process. But in that much more lengthy process, do we feel fatigued? Are we still here? Are we still ready to go? And so here's the thing that I'd like to ask you. Are these questions actually giving you pause to thought, or are they making you uncomfortable?
I guess with me, I want to keep healing. I do have that desire. Because everyday life, I still come across little roadblocks, signifying that people's attitudes are still similar about topics, and that encourages me to keep on healing. But I also remember what Jeff wrote as well about having gratefulness for the authorities, because they've got their job to do, and need to see that in a different light, and I hadn't seen it in that light. I kind of had, I guess, judgment towards them, because I didn't think they were on the right sides, if that makes sense. But slowly seeing it, that we can be grateful for what they bring. That's some healing that I need to do as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also feel like there have been times when I misinterpreted the presence of authority. And so, as opposed to realizing that they actually do have a part to play, and realizing what that part is, has sometimes not been something I've wanted to look at. It's sometimes been the thing I've looked at as, can they get over themselves? And yet it's literally that the system has been built. The system is the way it is. And I think that's what Jeff was sharing with us in terms of not fighting the system, because it's a futile game. It's honoring what the system is so that we can transcend it. And so, like, in line with our conversation today, it's the energy of honoring our connectedness so that we can transcend the separation and the division and the disunification. And I want to share that as what I have been working through in starting to really connect the dots. Because we have an opportunity to connect so many things, but we have to be open to truly looking at it. We have to be open to truly understanding its purpose. And the core of the work that we do is to truly love. And in truly loving, being able to transcend things that we no longer require because we've fully loved it. And so, yes, you know, I like when some of the things get shared, I'm like, have I really loved this all the way through? And I constantly have to ask myself that question. And I have to constantly ask myself the question, well, what is this piece calling for more love in this space? So I'm gonna now popcorn Drake, and I'm gonna ask you the question of, what do you feel is being called to be loved in this space?
Yeah, so I think it's what we talked about. It's what Jeff brought up of just like accepting and really like looking at it though, because I feel that there's just a lot of anger around like accepting the authority and accepting how like it was brought up. And so just moving through the anger of like accepting that the white men, or you know, what white people came up with like the authority, and like instead of seeing like white people as like separate and like against African American people, like seeing them as one with us, and seeing, you know, as just like what's the word? I think it's just seeing like they want to help as much as like everyone is calling for the help. It's just we're all healing through the upsets together. And like as we choose to heal through the upsets and heal through the uncomfortable feelings, that's when like that change will happen. But if it's just like avoiding the uncomfortableness of accepting that authority, it's just like you're going to hold on to the resistance and the numbness to that. So I feel like that's the next piece is just feeling through that anger and like, I don't want to listen to that, or I don't accept that because it's not what I want, or it's not what like I desire at the moment or something. It's kind of like the same thing like with your twin flame, you know. Jeff always in the Shaleia say like you have to accept what's happening now to move to the next phase, and if you don't, you're just going to stay stuck in that pattern forever. So yeah, like loving unconditionally too. So maybe what's the resistance to loving unconditionally here, and looking at that. So that's my piece.
So here is a question for the team, because I think, Drake, that was the perfect piece in terms of what is the resistance to loving unconditionally? Yeah. That feels like a powerful question for us to explore as we take this conversation forward. Oh, and since you came up with the question, you're allowed to pop. Oh, well, I see Toyana wants to share that.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, like, I love that piece, Drake. Like, a lot came up for me as you were sharing that. Like for me, I feel like sometimes I have resistance to acknowledging the other side because it can feel like, and Granville kind of touched on this a little bit earlier when he said, we're not discounting anyone. Like sometimes I feel like if I acknowledge someone else's point of view, then my side gets discounted or not heard fully. And so I think sometimes that can be a part of it. Like you want to hold on to the anger, hold on to the resistance because you're trying to acknowledge yourself in some kind of way. So yeah. I don't know if anyone has anything to add there.
Well, I feel like it's like giving your power away, or feeling like you're giving your power away, right? Because you're saying, okay, well, I have to like agree and love what's going on right now. So then like what I want doesn't really matter, or I'm not powerful in this situation because I'm agreeing to like listen to these people, right? So
Yeah.
maybe starting with that, right? So do you feel like you're giving your power away?
Yeah, right. But then like, as you kind of like say that, I realize that that's the illusion, right? Like true power comes in surrender, right? And like giving it over to God and like choosing that peace. And that's where the real power comes from, not from holding on to the upset. Yeah.
Yeah, and like trusting too, like trusting the system, right? Because you're also healing that mistrust of the system because of everything that's been going on. So it's basically being like, okay, God, like, I trust you with everything, because it's really God that's in what's going on, right? He's all showing us something. Like I said last week, he's showing us something that we have to heal. And so it's trusting that whatever he's showing you is perfect for you, and it's only bringing you closer to your power and to him instead of away from it, right?
Yeah. And I really like what you said last week, like the contrast. Sometimes you need that contrast. Sometimes you need that lesson to like really appreciate the lesson, like the peace, the unconditional love. Otherwise you don't really recognize it or see it for what it is. So I thought that was really great what you said last week, and yeah, like, yeah, just choosing that peace and choosing to claim your power now. Otherwise, like holding on to the separation, holding on to the anger and the mistrust of the system, it just keeps you in a loop. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like if you're in that loop, then like God can't really work because you're not making that new choice. You're kind of like, do I trust you, God? Do I? And then God's like, you got to make a choice, right? And so, yeah, that's good. Very good.
Yeah.
I think there might be maybe anger and resistance to the fact that Black Lives Matter, the movement, as it began, and our discussion why Black Lives Matter as journalists, is very different from what it was at the beginning. And this discussion has quite an important purpose that requires to transcend the old beliefs that we had about it. And it was a true gift that Jeff and Shaleia gave us in pointing out that actually it may not be about skin color at all, but rather in our like cultural DNA of resenting a part of the system that we didn't create, that we weren't a part of, that we didn't have a say in the past. But recognizing our power in saying that actually we are in the system. And so by healing that feeling that we are part of it, we're healing that resentment and anger that keeps us separated. And yeah, I think that would be the true step that would heal this sense of connectedness that we've been talking about and dancing around.
I think that's huge. Like that's a really big piece that you brought up. And I don't think I really like grasped it until you explained it like that. Like having resentment towards a system that we weren't originally a part of. Like, and now everything that has transpired like throughout history, all of the oppression against people of color, and we weren't even like a part of the system being built, and now we're being brought into the system and all of this is happening. It's like how do you love something like that? Like how do you feel? Why would you want to feel a part of that kind of thing? Like now all of these feelings are coming up, you know. That's a big piece.
Yeah, I think that's that hurt that keeps coming up. Really like a thing that is rooted is what I feel in me, that says that this is unfair because like the system was not made to accommodate me. But thinking like that would be a lie. It's just a lie that ego is telling us. But I think that's the thing that we've been missing, like passing over every time, because we didn't think that the upset was right there. We thought it was something else. And so yeah, I really like to get to heal that part, like, and finally feel that actually I am powerful because I I belong here. I belong on earth. I belong with everyone else. And there is really literally nothing that separates me from my neighbor. Yeah, and I think that just saying no to that lie is already powerful. It feels like cleansing a bit. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I do feel that cleansing energy, accepting that it's a lie.
I feel like you brought up a piece that's very directionally important in terms of healing, that sense of belonging, or even just, and you know what, it's not even the issue of belonging, it's the issue of not wanting to belong in it. I think both you and Diana brought it up. It's like, why would you want to be a part of it? Which is it's a very important question, because then it speaks to the question that Drake initially asked. But what is the resistance to unconditionally loving in this space? And it's like it almost comes full circle in terms of, well, I'm resisting it because I don't actually want to be part of it. I don't want to partner with this thing that I wasn't responsible for creating. I don't want to partner inside of this thing that feels like it was forced upon me. I don't want to be inside of the system that feels like it did not take into consideration any part of who I am. And so in that, why would I want to love it? And how can I then love it unconditionally? So it's kind of like that was quite a powerful question, because now I have the sense like, there's a significant, as you said, Diana, there's like a significant piece of healing here. And Irene also pointed it out in terms of, like, I didn't really look there. I may not even have wanted to look there.
And
It's
that is
kind
not
of just,
oh, sorry,
what
go
was
ahead.
that, Urine? Sorry. Yeah, it kind of just reminds me of like forgiveness, and like you do want to love it, because if you don't, then you're not really giving it the space it needs to grow. And also, like, it makes it so that you keep attracting the same. So like, even if we all here didn't create the system how it is or whatever, if we keep holding on to this idea of it like being bad, then we keep attracting that. And also too, I remember a while ago, I really don't know what the original post was, I forget, but it was something to do with like police officers, or I really don't know, but it was something that either Jeff or Shaleia posted, and I commented on it, like just kind of saying that, like, not all police officers are bad, like, most of them are actually good, and I've had a lot of good experiences with them. And someone like said something, oh, well, it's because you're white. And Shaleia was like, you sure about that, question mark? And then I like explained to the person, I was like, I'm actually mixed, but okay. So yeah, like really loving I feel like it relates to our whole journey too. You know, anytime you have something come up, you have to unconditionally accept it so that you move forward no matter how like bad or ugly it looks. Yeah, so that's what was coming up for me with everything.
I agree 100%. And it's like, you know, I've had a lot of good experiences with goats as well, but if I'm hating on the one goat that gave me hell like once every 6 months, am I truly fully loving all of it? Or am I holding on to that bit of resentment? And I think that's where the ego is even more vicious. And it's in believing that if we're talking in like cultures, because we're talking about different cultures, it's this feeling that these egoic thoughts, these upsets are part of our culture and not actually upsets. And that would be, I think, the thing that would keep us from actually wanting to interact with the rest of the world in some places. And that's why Jeff talks about culture so much and how it's important to see where each culture succeeded and where it failed, and see that what is actually of God will stay. Like it's okay to let go of the part where that didn't work out or that are not working out, and that we're not less because we've let go of that part of our culture, because ultimately it was an illusion. And I think like from like the challenging things and discussions that we've had in the last few weeks, that's what brought me unconsciously the most anger through this, because I believed in illusions in some places.
So I have another question, and this may be controversial, but God keeps telling me to bring it up. So, but right, so we're talking about how like feeling kind of like not connected to the system or not with the system, right? But what's the feeling that comes up when you like basically say, oh well, I'm one with the system, right? Like even if there's the illusion of feeling like, well, I didn't create this, right? This is something I wasn't included in, right? What if it's actually saying, well, I did have some part in this somehow. I manifested this somehow, right? Even though it's really shitty, right? Even though it's not really a good thing, right? What are the feelings that come up when you say, well, somehow I was responsible for this? Or there was like, right? Because we manifest things. Everybody has the power to manifest something, right? So what did you choose to manifest? I don't know if I'm saying this right, but I'm trying to like say this right. But that's why it's controversial, right? Because if you're saying, well, I don't feel connected to this, right? Aren't you just promoting separation, right? Are you saying, well, I'm not really one with this, but we all are one, right? Right? Because I guess take away skin color, take away like if you're transgender, if you're gay, right? Take away all of that. If you're standing in front of God, does God see that, right? Or does God see your soul? Does God see your consciousness? I don't know if I'm saying this right, but it's just like, it's not stripping you because like that is part of who you are, right? But we're all one, no matter race. I'm trying to say this like it's so, but race, gender. If you're transgender,
I feel like you need to let go of the need to say the right thing and say the thing. Just say the thing. And let us all work through the thing that you said, because that is the piece. That's the next piece. So it's literally what you're in one way you're saying, let go of all the crap, and then just focus in on you. And in another way you're saying, well, I'm still holding on to some of the crap.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to say race, gender, class, and religion. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's just like take away all of that. And then what are you left with? You're left with, well, I'm a divine child of God, one with everybody on this earth. Right? So if that is true, then aren't we just responsible because we've all manifested this somehow? We're all connected this somehow, right? We've all played a part. So maybe it's thinking about that and feeling the feelings that come up with that, because maybe there's anger. It's like, oh my gosh, I chose this somehow. Oh my gosh, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just what God told me to say. So
Stop it. Just say what you need to say. If it doesn't make sense, we'll ask.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's just like, how does it feel to maybe take responsibility of what's been manifested?
And the thing that you did, like the thing that you've allowed to happen, and you've given me a sense of kind of the difference between being in the world and of the world. Like we're in the world. We can't not be in the world, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But in being in this world, there's components of this world that we will be in. One of those things is the system. And so having that sense that we're in the world and we're in the system releases the energy of being a victim of something. Like just the sense that I'm part of it. I don't know quite how I manifested it, but I also know that I'm a powerful manifester. So I can, through my healing, choose to manifest new and different. Makes powerful sense. But in order for me to really understand my power, I have to embrace that I have that power and it hasn't been taken away. And it can't be taken away. And in it not being able to be taken away, I am not a victim.
I also think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about last week, like holding ourselves accountable, like Urine pointed out last week, like to Drake's point, to what degree, like we have to take responsibilities for ourselves at all times, right? And so if we're functioning in a world where a system is oppressing people, in what ways are we oppressing ourselves? Or in what ways are we choosing this for ourselves? And taking responsibility for that piece and healing that, right? Instead of kind of pushing it off and making it the system's fault.
Yeah, I like that. And also, I also like feeling into it. It's like this owning that feeling of otherness and what that actually, what that energy sticks us in or keeps us in a loop of. If we permanently see ourselves as other or outside of it or as separate from it, we don't ever really feel connected to it. we don't really truly experience the connection because the otherness fuels the exclusion. And so there's like this, it's the self-fulfilling prophecy, really. It's really what we've been taught throughout our lives, that, you know, you kind of, by constantly saying, I don't want this, you're just drawing more of that experience to you, as opposed to, this is what I want. This is what I want my reality to look like. This is how I am connected to everybody else. This is the core of my divinity as a child of God.
It's exactly like Sunday's sermon, when we talked about there is no them against us, like we're all one. And I think last week when I was attempting to question, like saying, as the system really truly failed us, is now I realize that it was like trying to see it in a divine way, asking for God's point of view. And what I kept doing, like for the past few minutes, is that what if our relief could be found in the sense that as a system, it has never been better right now than ever. Like it has never been better. And realizing that it keeps getting better and it keeps being progressive, and it's about releasing that oppression and pain, and God is right here, right there with us, and seeing that eternal but evolving way that we're not in perfect union yet, but we can love it still, you know, and it's God's plan. And sometimes we even in a microscopic view, like a very zoomed in view, wouldn't make any sense to us, or would brought us a lot of anger and would bail us into feeling that we are attacked or oppressed, or that the system is violent. But if we take a step back and see that macroscopic way, you know, that zoomed out view, we see that it's all part of like a progression, really, and it's our own progression towards perfect love, perfect union. I don't know.
Yeah, that feels good. And I think it's that evolution of us as a person that's also then reflecting in the evolution of what's happening around us. And in that, showing us the essence of connectedness, that there's constant evolution, there's no real stuckness. So yeah, just on that note, I just want to check in with everybody. Any last thoughts? We literally almost at our hour. Okay, cool. Well, in that case, thank you everybody for the conversation. To everybody that has followed us, thank you for your comments and sharing with us. And to those people that are new to our conversation, please feel free to like and subscribe to our Church of Union YouTube channel. You will find all our previous conversations in this series on why Black Lives Matter, as well as any other live conversations that have happened on our Unionism Spiritual Discussion group on Facebook. And we look forward to seeing all of you next week as we continue the conversation and the healing. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.